Welcome to EXL Conversational BI Solution, a platform that lets you interact with your data using natural language. It features two powerful modules. The first generates SQL queries in response to your questions. The second builds intelligent insights on top of charts and visualizations. With this solution, data becomes accessible to everyone. It reduces dependency on data teams and empowers decision-makers with self-serve BI capabilities, enabling faster and more confident decisions. Let's walk through some of the key features. First, conversational flexibility. Not every user asks the same question in the same way. This solution understands multiple variations of the same query and still generates the correct SQL output. Next, instant insights. The solution provides insights tailored to different user personas. For example, a finance executive might see a different nature and depth of insights than a marketing executive based on what matters most to them. Another key feature is context retention. This is what sets generative AI apart. As users ask follow-up questions, the solution retains context, allowing for deep dive analysis across a conversation, not just a single query. Then there's performance optimization. If a question is asked repeatedly, the solution uses caching and indexing strategies to avoid redundant calls to the language model. This improves both speed and cost efficiency. Data privacy and governance are also built in. Many of our clients are in insurance and banking, so privacy is critical. The solution never exposes raw client data to the language model. Only metadata, such as the data dictionary, is shared. We also ensure governance of output. Responses are always grounded in the actual data tables. For example, if someone asks, "Who is the President of the United States?" Even though the model knows the answer, our solution will return a response relevant only to the underlying dataset. Another standout feature is complex data integration and aggregation. Our platform handles multiple datasets, joins, and aggregations. A lot of solutions in the market need complete data sets to be ready before starting to query them. However, as you ask a series of questions, our solution can do joins and aggregations on the fly. We also offer LLM flexibility. Whether you prefer an open-source model or a closed-source one, our solution supports both. We can even train the model on company-specific or domain-specific knowledge. So, for instance, if your company issues a gold credit card and you ask, "What's the performance of gold?" the solution will understand you mean the card, not the metal. Now, let's begin the demo. Before jumping into the questions, let's quickly review the metadata. For this example, we're using two datasets. The first is insurance policy data, which includes fields like policy ID, policy effective date, agent ID, customer ID, and line of business. The second is insurance agent data, containing agent ID, agent name, and zone. The common identifier across both tables is the agent ID. It's important to emphasize, in this solution, the only thing shared with the language model is the metadata, not the customer data. Using just this metadata, the model generates SQL queries, which then operate on the actual data safely within the client environment. Let's go back to the workspace and start asking some questions. For example, I want to know, what is my total premium and policy count across quarters for active policies? While this loads, here's what's happening behind the scenes. The solution is translating the natural language question into a SQL query. Let's take a quick look at that query. Here, the solution is automatically selecting variables from the dataset through the Auto Variable Selection feature. Furthermore, the ambiguity resolution feature helps in defining rules to select the correct variable where appropriate to ensure accuracy. As a result, we get a precise and relevant SQL query. You'll also see the chart that was generated in response. These visualizations can be added to dashboards, which I'll show later. Users can customize their dashboards with various charts. There's also a tabular output that can be exported. Now, let's explore the second module, Insights. As you can see, the solution has generated insights from the same natural language question. These insights can be upvoted or downvoted. When a user upvotes an insight, it's stored in a positive database, creating a reinforcement feedback loop. These insights can also be tailored to different user personas. So if a business analyst logs in, they may see different insights than a senior executive. Let's continue and go a bit deeper. I'll ask a follow-up question. Show this information across age and zones. If you recall, the zone data is in the second dataset. So the solution is now performing an on-the-fly join between the two data tables. Here's the chart that was generated. You can now see total premium and policy count across Zone 1 and Zone 2. A quick look at the SQL query confirms that the solution has done a dynamic join between the datasets. Let's go further. Now I'll ask the solution to break this down by sales type, but only for Zone 1. As you can see, it's now showing data specific to Zone 1, broken down by new and renewal policies. If we check the SQL query again, we'll see it has become more complex. It's filtering by zone and sales type. The query is also editable, so business analysts can fine-tune results directly from the interface. Let's say we want to now view the same breakdown, but for Zone 2. The solution seamlessly adjusts. As you can see, the solution is able to slice and dice the data while remembering the context from earlier questions. It can also summarize the entire chain of questions and responses into a single paragraph, giving you a high-level overview of the analysis you've performed. Let's move on. There are a few more features I'd like to cover. One important capability is the solution's ability to handle variation in user input. We can't expect different users to phrase the same question in the same way, and some might even include spelling errors. Let's say I ask a similar question to one we saw earlier. Is our total premium and policy count increasing across quarters? Previously, we asked, show total premium and policy count. This time, I've phrased it differently, as a complete question, and the solution still provides the same response and insights, just as expected. Now, let's test contextual understanding. The solution is trained on industry knowledge, so even if a word isn't explicitly in the metadata, it can still infer meaning. Let me ask, show the quarterly top line through credit card. Now, top line isn't a standard insurance term, but the solution is intelligent enough to interpret it as total premiums. As you can see in the SQL query, the solution pulls data from the total premium field. However, in the chart, it retains the user's language, displaying it as quarterly top line, which preserves familiarity and context. Also, note that I mentioned credit card, which isn't a field in the metadata, but rather a billing method. The solution correctly understands that context and responds accordingly. Let's look at another powerful feature, custom metrics. The solution allows you to define your own metrics, assign them a name, and then ask questions based on them. For example, I want to define a new metric called retention rate. I'll call it ret rate, so it's harder for the LLM to interpret, and set the formula as number of new policies divided by total active policies, multiplied by 100. Now I can ask, show ret rate for each quarter. And as you can see, the solution applies that formula and returns the correct retention rate by quarter, clearly labeled as ret rate, just as defined. Now, let's explore governance, a foundational principle of conversational BI. The solution ensures that outputs are always grounded in the underlying data. Let's start by asking a question that's completely irrelevant to the dataset. Who is the Prime Minister of Australia? Now, the LLM behind the scenes knows the answer. But because that question is not relevant to the dataset, the solution responds with a clear message. The question is not relevant to the context provided. Now, let's try a question that's partially relevant. What are the total fraud losses in 2023? Now, fraud losses are a real concern in insurance, but this dataset doesn't include that field. So the solution recognizes the term as plausible but responds. The column is not present in this dataset. Now, let's test a third scenario, where the question is relevant and valid, but the answer simply isn't in the dataset. For example, show the total premium received by cash. Here, cash is a valid billing method, but in this particular dataset, no records exist under that method. So the solution responds accordingly. There is no data available for this query. And it goes a step further, offering a pushback suggestion. Would you like to see the total premium received by electronic fund transfer instead? Let's try that. And just as expected, The solution generates the correct output, this time for electronic fund transfer. So that wraps up the core features and capabilities I wanted to demonstrate. A few final points to note. The solution maintains a history of all questions asked, so users can revisit or build upon previous queries. Also, the dashboarding capabilities allow you to push any generated charts into a live dashboard. You can download them as PDFs or integrate them with your existing visualization tools. It's important to clarify. This solution does not replace BI tools like Power BI or Tableau. Instead, it complements them. You can use our charts alongside existing dashboards or publish custom outputs and insights directly into PowerPoint presentations. Thank you for watching.